So today is the 12th of September. Yesterday was 9/11. The day before, unfortunately, as most people know, Charlie Kirk, an advocate for free speech and open and honest debate, he was assassinated on the 10th of September. And essentially, what this podcast is about, I'm not gonna run the lines about talking about what happened. Everyone knows it's a worldwide story. However, I can attest that, and Kevin will back me up on this, is you could feel the energy in the country around you, people around you. The energy for everybody was super low.
Yeah,
like everyone's taking a dip. This horrific thing has happened. And you can hear like people talking online, and I'm not going to dive into the horrible things that were said or the just what happened, but it's an energy shift that kind of breaks down, and you could feel it on an holistic level across the entire country.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and it happened to Kevin, it happens to me, it happened to me, is there was feelings of emotion, because there's anger. There's rage of how these things could happen, and if you focus on social media, it also becomes a kind of almost becomes addictive, because you're trying to see what the next lines are, what happened. I was glued on.
You want to know.
You're trying to know, but let's dive down into how that affects your day to day. And for me, is when this happened on Tuesday, when it happened, is nothing else happened.
It was Tuesday or Wednesday?
On Wednesday. When it happened on Wednesday, nothing else happened on the day, right? Like everything else shut down because this thing became an event. Yeah. Now, it can be related to multiple events that happen and will continue to happen to you, either on a smaller scale, right? It may be a loss in your family. It may be a personal tragedy. It may be suffering with certain things happening. But there's going to come these points where there's this mass trauma event. Right, whether it be a mass trauma event as we're experiencing right now, and with it being on the, happening on the eve of 9/11, and then having that day, it is a super low day for the United States, and by example, the world. When those days happen, how do you draw back? What do you do? Because those days are the days, we always talk about the darkness can overcome you. Right, and there's times where you need to sit and you have to give thanks for the fact that we are here. You have to remember those who have fallen. You have to give praise and pray for those that are struggling. But let's also just talk about your day to day. When those days happen, and they're happening to everybody, right now we're watching people on social media getting to a cycle. It's a cycle of consistent. They're just talking about it. You cannot open your social media feed right now.
Yeah, it's all over.
Without just being inundated with everything that's happening. And there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of rage. There's a lot of outcry. There's a lot of remorse. There's a lot of people just giving just compassion to his family and to him and what happened. But regardless of that, how do you reconcile? Because you can get sucked into this really easily, and it happens in a heartbeat. It's a mass event. You're taking note of it. You can't not look at it. The amount of discussions in the last 3 days that have kind of clouded this has pretty much been 80% of discussions that comes up. But realistically, when do we end the cycle? Right? How do we end the cycle? What do we do? What is the train wreck, and why is it important? Because this is going to be one of many events that are going to affect you in your life. Those events could be close to you, and it's not to say that we ignore them. It's not to say that we put them in our back pocket. It's not to say that we don't take notes and and sit and take notes of what happened and really just allow some emotions to flow. We're not saying that, but at some point, life goes on, and we have to get to a point of getting back to being the best versions of ourselves. And we cannot be that if we're glued to our phones. We cannot be that if we're following a story. We cannot be that if we're so focused on what the outcome of this is, which, again, now I'm going to put this in perspective. We have no control of this.
No.
Right? We have no control over anything that's happening.
You can't bring them back, I'll jump in on this. I think about. I had a conversation I had with my brother. His son, is a teenager, high school age, male, who Charlie Kirk influenced a lot of that.
Yeah.
From that high school age males to probably 30 something, and of course adults too. Sam and I even said we wanted our son to follow Charlie Kirk because we liked what he had to say, and the human nature of it all. This podcast isn't about him, but the human nature of it all is he was just a likable person.
Yeah.
He was a good father. I saw some videos posted of him, with Candace Owens behind the scenes dancing and singing and just being a good dude.
Just a good guy.
And I think that's why the American people have taken it so hard, because he was a follower of Christ, a good husband, a good father, a genuinely good human being who went into very difficult conversations and had conversations.
Yes.
And I think when you see the tragedy that occurred, and my heart also goes to that one, the girl that was killed on the train or the bus in North Carolina. And the one thing I'll say, to get back to your points, those videos that are posting out there, try to censor yourself.
Yeah.
Don't watch those things because, as somebody who's seen thousands of those types of videos from what I used to do for a living, they do change I'll say this out of protection of the individual, but I know of a situation where the person watched the video who's never seen anything like that and is having a very hard time processing it.
Yes,
because it's not normal. When you watch movies, you see killing in movies, it's fake. In the end, your brain sees it as fake. It's not real. So when you saw that video with Charlie, the firsthand, it's a lot. It's not easy for people to process that, right? And it's not easy. And I would encourage you to, if you did see it and you're having trouble with it, talk to a professional, talk to somebody if you need to. It's not a normal thing, and that's okay. Acknowledge it for what it is, and to break the cycle, of what we're seeing right now, like you said, on social media, everything you see is about him in this just narrative.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's negative. A lot of it's negative, right? So you're feeding your brain and your energy to nothing but negativity, right? So like you said yesterday was September 11th. It was probably the most overshadowed 9/11 we've had since 9/11 occurred. Actual 9/11 occurred, right? It was almost odd. It was they still did some of the celebrations, but it was literally about Charlie Kirk and mourning that, right? So that was very just different, and the energy was down. You felt it. You could just feel that, right? And how do you break it? Well, Sam called me in the middle of yesterday, and she's like, my feed is just nothing but him. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, me too. And I turned my social media off on the computer, so I have a little app on my browser that I can just literally turn it off. It blocks it from me being able to get on it. So I turned that on, took my phone, flipped it over, pushed it away, because I was just like I can't keep feeding my mind this negative energy.
100%.
It's not healthy, right? So what can I? And it's the same thing. That situation of the person I was having a conversation with, but they're dealing with, is stop fueling how horrific it was.
Yes.
Start celebrating the human being for what he was.
Yes.
And consume something else. I would even stop following what's the news and the narrative around him right now, and feed your brain with positive energy.
Yes.
Positive things. That's a first and quick hit tip on how to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Choosing to be intentional with what you're consuming.
Yes. And I mean, it again is consuming on this level, is especially talking about this tragedy that recently happened, is it hits hard with people because this was a human being. Right, and again,
he's a father, man. Those kids.
Yeah, but over and above the fact that this was a family man, a father with 2 kids, a self-made man. Yeah. Right. Besides all of that, I didn't agree with everything Charlie Kirk said, but I appreciated the way that he said it. I appreciated the way that he had open dialogue.
Absolutely.
I resonate massively with the fact that when he did something, he always did it in love and kindness. When someone walked, whether he liked what they said or not, he was like, I bless you, I wish you the best. He never ever wished ill will on someone, which I think is why his death and this tragedy hit so hard. And when we're saying disconnect from it, we're saying disconnect from the negativity. There's a lot of positive to be taken from the legacy of this human being.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that for me personally is, I'd like to believe that I have advocated and lived in many ways of being my true authentic self, which he was, and trying to do that with everybody in love and kindness, regardless of who you are, what your background is. I want to talk to everybody and I want to have a good conversation.
I saw a video of him, and if the world could be more like him, we'd be a better place.
We need more Charlie Kirks,
and I think that's going to happen. But I saw a video of him where I think he was wearing an Oregon jacket, so I'm assuming he was at the University of Oregon. I don't know. And he was wearing an ICE hat, and a protester walked up and said, "What's that hat?" And he said, "It's an ICE hat." "What's that stand for?" "Immigration Customs Enforcement." And she's like, "That's what I thought," and whacks it off his head. And the audience immediately tried to grab her. And he said, "No, let her go. Let her go. Can you have a conversation with me?"
Yes.
And she, of course, refused and walked away. And then somebody asked him, "Do you want to press charges?" He goes, "No, not at all." No. Like, I wanted to come back and have a conversation.
Yes.
Right? And that was the kind of person he was.
And that's the kind of person we all need to try to be. Is, the reason we're saying is we're not saying that you disconnect from the legacy. We don't say don't mourn the person. We're not saying to you disconnect from the negativity.
Well, I've seen videos of, and you're from South Africa, so you know this firsthand, but like I've literally seen videos of like, I think Venezuelan politicians, even in Mexico it's happened. In other countries where politicians come to fistfights over disagreements on stuff, 100%. Right?
Happened in South Africa too.
Yeah, and it's like, when we see what happens in these other countries, and now that's on our turf, right? Yeah. And it's sad because we should agree to disagree. We should be able to talk about our differences because that's how you come to a good resolution. 100%. That's what the beauty of this country has always been, is like recognizing our differences. We don't always have to agree on stuff.
Actually, I would prefer that we don't agree on everything, because that's how we come to a better consensus.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes us better, right? Yeah. Like it's like in business. Let's use a business example. If I surround myself with, like you and I are very identical in thought and what we do. And if we build a business with 52 Jason and Kevins, well, then we're going to have like no innovation. We're going to have no growth because we're all thinking the same, and everybody's going to go, yes, whatever you say, boss.
Yeah.
We need people that think differently. We need, like I have an old boss that used to say, we need diversity of thought.
You do.
Right? Diversity of thought is important.
And on that said is, diversity of thought is a great analogy, because even though me and Kevin are pretty much, we're in agreement on most things, right? But even though I agree, I might agree with Kevin on what we believe the outcome should be. How we get there, we differ immensely on our process, which is great, because I feed off him, and okay, great. Let's get a back, and it's how I try to run everything I do. I want to hear as much as I can.
What I know about our friendship is that, when we do differ on something, I'm never like, fuck Jason, I can't stand him.
Yeah.
I know that it's coming from a place of love and kindness, and you know that of me,
100%,
right? And it's like, it's because we care about each other. We care about reaching our greatest selves, and we want to help each other do that, because it's not every day that you have a friendship in a community of people that you can lean on.
True.
That are helping you do this. And I think that's where, going back to how you break this cycle now, like find that outlet of people that are going to help you process it. We had our meeting here that morning after, and I had a hard time with stuff, because there were things that just resonated and kind of took me back to some previous things. And I was fortunate we had this room so they could, experience some real vulnerability with me. And it saddens me that, and not, again, I don't want to go to politics, but it saddens me that we are in a time where politics have become divisive, and it's like one side's trying to play by the rules and the other side's not.
Yeah.
And it's just sad that the way to overcome that guy was to take his life. And you find yourself asking, why did it happen?
Yeah.
What a great person taken way too soon. What a brilliant mind taken way too soon.
100%.
And so you have these like thoughts and emotions around like, why did it happen? And this is like, and I want to get on this topic where Let's get into the root cause of the people that are celebrating his death.
I really want to dive down this, because having a nuanced understanding of what's going on, because and we're not, we don't have enough time. Yeah, no, make a point, and I'll add what I want to say.
And this is my opportunity, I guess, to let this out a little bit. But I have seen people personally close enough to me that have celebrated him within minutes of the news.
Yeah.
What is broken inside of you as a human being, as a man, as a person who claims to be a good steward of the community?
Yeah.
What is broken inside of you that a father, a husband, a man who loves God, who was literally assassinated, and you found the need to celebrate it?
Yes.
Well, let's dive into you, because there's something within you that's just broken.
Yes.
That needs addressed, and you need healed. And you don't see it, and you don't know it. Because I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, I don't want anyone to die.
No. It's a very nuanced discussion, because there's so many different contexts to take into it.
Of course.
However, I mean, you never advocate for the harm of anybody, right? And I'm saying that in the same breath, so I'm going to throw something out there, and it's not my opinion, but it kind of might put context in. Did we celebrate when they killed Osama bin Laden?
Yeah, there was a lot of celebration for that.
He was a father.
He was.
He had kids.
He was.
He had a family, right? So why celebrate it?
Do you want me to?
No. Okay. I know why.
Okay.
So I'm kind of putting it out there, right? So we cannot take away the human element of whereby in certain situations we do celebrate the death of people. We do. We cannot say that we don't, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that if you celebrate his death this was a person who orchestrated 9/11 by all contexts.
I can tell you, I've personally celebrated deaths.
Right. Here's the thing, right? So what I'm trying to get at is, human beings celebrating the downfall of other human beings is actually pretty normal. Where it becomes nuanced and where we have to be very careful is when we're celebrating because someone has a differing opinion. Or in his particular case is, if you read into the narratives, what people have put out there is people have this belief system that he's a white supremacist because someone said he was. He was a racist because someone said he was. He was this evil person who just bigoted hate out there. Now, I generally I don't listen to anybody in snippets.
Well, I think this breaks down to good versus evil.
Yes, that's exactly where I'm going. I'm going exactly there.
Yeah. So let me just say, based on personal experience, and I just said a minute ago, I've celebrated deaths.
Yeah.
Of evil people.
And
I don't think Charlie Kirk was an evil person. He was a good person.
Yes, but this is context.
Here, to me, how do you define the difference between good and evil?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it came to Osama bin Laden, he wished death upon America and took action to do that, and actually took American lives based on a terrorist attack.
Yes.
So when he was taken, we celebrated that because we stopped evil.
Yes.
In this case, it's an ideologue interpretation. Charlie Kirk didn't take anybody's lives. If anything, he was saving lives.
Yes.
And he was out there spreading good messages. He was out there doing a lot of good work.
Agreed.
And so, because we interpreted him, like people interpreted him as being evil.
Okay.
How?
Okay. Stop right there. Mm-hmm. Now, I agree with you. So now let's take that one step back. Right. And I think, let me just be clear. Osama bin Laden is probably the worst case I could have brought up because of what it is. But let's just stick with that. Right. Do you think the people in whoever are around him, right? So whoever his community is he evil to them?
Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
Probably not.
To him, America's evil. To them, you're evil, right?
It's a belief system.
It's a belief system. It's a cultural system, right? However, he took action, right? His action is why the action against him is warranted. Are we on the same page, right? So you do something. I rob a store. I get caught. I get arrested. I pay for it. That is the judicial system and the moral sanctity of how we keep our society in check. Right?
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going. So there's a discernment. So what I'm trying to get at is we're comparing, right? So it's like going Trump is Hitler. Right, you're comparing a person who committed genocide, literal genocide, to a person who hasn't. Right, and this is why this is happening. Is because what's happening is we've lost context on reality, and we throw around words. And we've spoken before, right? Words have a lot of power. Words are not violence. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going on that route. Right, words are not violence. Words are words. However, the impact of words makes a difference. Now, that friend you're talking about, these people online, and I'm not talking about all of them because there's a group of them are just fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, by all accounts, a rational human being who will not take further context. So in their mind, right, so let's dive into their mind. That in your friend's mind, without him going to look at context, by looking at slivers of information that he gets fed by his group, everything in his mind says, Charlie Kirk's a Nazi. He was a Nazi. He was a racist. He was a bigot. He was a white supremacist. And because he's so evil, he deserves to die. That is the thought process.
And let me just clarify something. Like, the reality is, and let's go back to the Bin Laden scenario, they believe in their ideologue as the way. At some point, in some capacity, their moral compass allowed them to believe that their mission or ideologue was the right and only way.
Yeah.
And everybody else is infidels, and they've justified, and we need probably a therapist to help us break down the psychopath's mindset, but like they believe that by them taking these lives was a justified cause, action, right? So there's a, in my opinion, a psychopath nature to that, right?
Okay, that's fair.
But they have convinced themselves. Could we argue that their moral compass is out of whack? I would think so, because to me, the average person doesn't want to take human life.
I agree, and I think the average person in their realm probably doesn't want to either. But because psychopaths are a percentage of the population, okay? But I'm going to throw this in a different way because I'm going down a route to try and get people to have more context. Is on the flip side, the U.S. invading Afghanistan, right, and killing a whole bunch of civilians. I think they said if Barack Obama had to apologize every single day for every single person that he killed via a drone strike, civilian, right, it would take him 4 years every day. That's how many people he's killed by his action, right? Now, that action isn't any more warranted than the action of the person on the other side, right? Because we can justify anything by pulling it in and going, oh, that we can justify it. However, what we're comparing it to is we're comparing people in power, people who have influence, people who are able to push a button or tell a colleague or send two people on a plane with a box cutter. We're able to orchestrate these people and have an action where we hurt others. And it doesn't matter if it's an American president, if it's Osama bin Laden, if it's Hitler, it doesn't matter. Those people in power cannot be rated the same way as Charlie Kirk was. Because Charlie Kirk, by every metric, has never ever hurt a human being. All he's ever done is speak his mind, his belief, his truth, and openly asked people with opposing beliefs in love and kindness to speak with him.
Agreed.
That's why his death is so traumatic to us. It's because whether it's Osama bin Laden, whether it's Barack Obama, whether it's Donald Trump, when you're in a position of power, inevitably you are going to be responsible for death and destruction because it's the nature of power. Whether the intention is good or bad.
You have to identify that, like, I'm going to make decisions that are going to cause a loss of life. I have to be okay with that.
Right. So I will never condone in any way, shape, or form hurting any individual in power, even in power, right? That is not trying to take lives. There's a big difference between Osama bin Laden, who wants to kill people as much as possible, versus doing an action which is trying to save the country.
When we all know about the operation that they did to go get Osama bin Laden. If we would have just dropped a bomb on there and we killed the whole entire thing, would you have been okay with that? Would have people been okay with that?
Honestly, probably. They probably would have been okay with it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point.
Because there's a difference between running countries, having wars, and having conversations.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, So here's Osama bin Laden and all the women and children that were in that. I think there was probably like 5 different families or something. I can't remember the details of how many families were in that house that they went in the raid. Well, they killed the men in there.
Yeah.
They did kill the men. And who knows, like, how many, like, people actually died, or, like, if there was, civilian casualties. I know some of the women tried to fight. But my point is, if we wouldn't have done an operation and just hit it with a bomb and blown the thing to smithereens, like, we wouldn't have actually known that we got them. So that's why they didn't do that.
That's part of the ops, yeah.
But if they did that and we confirmed, we had, scopes, whatever, and gone in and got his DNA, we would have celebrated it still. Right.
And I don't think that's incorrect, because that's human nature.
Right.
America was defending the territory. Right. This is not the same as what happened to Charlie Kirk. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is because what we're talking about is when you go and you call him a white supremacist without any evidence, just by listening to a sliver of what someone else says, you're creating the impression that this is a person who has power, who is taking lives, and it's not the case.
So this is kind of my thing, right? If I hear an opinion of someone else and I just decide to make it my own, but don't do my own homework or investigation, if you will, on that opinion or that person, then I'm wrong, right?
100%.
So I think that's what happens so much in today's society, is that we hear the voice of someone that aligns with how we believe, and then we say, "Oh, that's what I want to do."
Yeah, because
what my opinion is.
Yeah, and because that opinion aligns with mine, I won't do any checks or balances, because it makes me feel good and I can jump on it.
Yeah, and here's what I view this. I actually said this to Sam the other day. Here's the way I see it. Like, you know me. Like, I've pretty much grew up and have always leaned right in my views and beliefs in this country. But if one day we have a far right extreme president that I just don't agree with, that's, whatever craziness you want to throw in there, but the other party's candidate is more moderate, is more in the middle, and is actually better for our country, I shouldn't just draw a party line here and vote for that person blindly and ignorantly, because it's not good for our freedom and our democracy.
Because this country is run by a constitution, not a person.
Exactly. So in the end, it's that's what I have trouble with on today's, far left people, is you vote how you want to vote. You believe what you believe. But to have your voice be heard through violence is not okay.
Yes.
You need, and that's what, again, going back to Charlie Kirk, why people were so distraught by it, because he didn't resort to violence. He did it in a peaceful, tactful way. So if you vote that direction, and you see the direction of what your party's going, and it's just something I heard a guy talk about on social media, you have an obligation to either change your party or withdraw from your party.
100%. And this is the point we're inevitably getting to, right? Is what these people are doing is they're associating these actions. When you for the longest time compare someone just talking their truth or expressing their belief, and you continuously make them out to be something they're not, which is it's the lowest hanging fruit for on the extreme left side. The lowest hanging fruit is, if we're sitting in this podcast, what they'll do is they'll pull out a sliver of me saying Osama bin Laden, we killed him.
They won't tell the whole thing.
No, they won't tell the whole thing. But you'd have to listen in context.
That's right.
Right. Context is very important.
Absolutely.
You also have to, men, and I really want men to understand this, men really need to understand what violence is, right? I'm not saying you should use violence. I'm saying you should be capable. Talks about that. Right. Be capable, but hope you never have to use it.
Right.
And with that said, think of it in these terms, right? Whether it be the conflict in Israel, whether it be Osama bin Laden attacking the United States, whether it be the US going into Afghanistan, it doesn't matter which war, which territory, right? What happens is, if you're in that territory, right, the other guy's the bad guy. It's always how it works, right? However, that doesn't justify the action.
Right.
Okay. Then what you got to look at, now context comes into play. If you're Israel, right, and someone jumps over your fence, now think Israel is your yard in your house or your condo, wherever you stay. If someone breaks down your door and kills three members of your family, right, what would you do? And I'm not talking to someone on the conservative, anybody. What would you do? You're telling me in that moment you're not going to act. Come on. Of course you are.
I hope you
now make that yard a country and go, what would you do? Now, I'm not justifying.
I used to say this about my first deployment to Iraq. I got asked what I thought or what I saw when I came back. And I used to say this, and this is when I was young and didn't really know a lot, but like, I would basically say, well, you tell me how you'd feel if I knocked on your door one day and said, hey, I'm changing everything about your religious views and beliefs system. You need to now do what I do.
Yeah.
Would you fight back?
Of course you would.
Of course you would.
Of course you would.
And that's what happened.
Which is why having someone like Pete Hegseth in running the military and having the idea. Now, this is a very unpopular opinion that I'm going to say. But I would rather have the good guy have the biggest stick. The good guy have the biggest stick, right? The United States is not perfect. The United States has done a lot of things wrong. However, the moral stance of the United States as being the only constitution that I personally know of in the entire world that actually has a state for individual liberty makes it the most dangerous to every other evil on earth.
Agreed.
Because that is literally what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the soul of the United States. Because if the United States falls and the Constitution falls,
we're the last.
We're the last stand. Yeah. Because they want to. If you can take away the stand of individual liberty, you break down that what the United States essentially stands for. And why is that important? Because I've said this before on the podcast. The United States is the policing system of the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't get it right every time. However, let's take this back to what's happening on social media. If you look at police brutality on social media and you sat and focused on it and you searched for it, you would imagine that 5 out of every 10 police stops would end up with someone getting beaten.
Yeah.
And it's not the case. It's less than 1%. Because what social media does is it amplifies whatever you want to amplify.
It does.
So realistically is the people that are showing all this hate are a very small percentage of this population.
Yeah.
But they're amplified and they have the loudspeaker. And that loudspeaker now allows them to look like there's so much more. Our job as people who want to be good men, good Americans, good conservatives, and even good liberals, you do not want to buy into that.
Agreed.
What you want to do is you are giving them power by listening to them, by reacting to them, by posting for them. What you want to do is you want to stay positive.
Yeah.
You want to get away from the negative and stop feeding the beast, because that beast is dividing us in a way that I can only explain from a third world perspective of I've seen this happen.
Yeah.
Do not allow this 1% with a loudspeaker to divide us. Here and here's the breakdown. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. It doesn't matter how you think the country should be run. If you live here and you look at the Constitution, note that the reason the United States is as great as it is because a couple of men with really big brains a few years ago saw shit that no one else saw.
Yeah.
And they put that down on a piece of paper, and that's how we've been running this country ever since.
Yeah.
It's a balance of power that seems chaotic but works really well.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It really is.
And the only thing that really makes it brilliant is that number one amendment in there, that is freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of religion, freedom of expression. That freedom is the fundamental basis of why this country is great. That second amendment that everyone hates so much ensures that no one can take the first one away. Whether you like it or not, as someone from a third world country, I can tell you that is ingrained in why this country is great. And as long as those two are there, we will be okay.
Yeah, history has shown, it was the Japanese that never invaded our shores because they knew the American population were a well-armed population.
100%.
And that literally, and still are probably more armed today than they were back then. So they knew it wasn't going to be a good idea, right? And here's my take on this. I don't know how we're done on time here, but we're good. How do we change this? Right? Like how do we preserve our freedoms? And if you ask me, it starts at the ground level as men, and what we're on this podcast for. It starts with you just as a man being the best version of yourself you possibly can.
Yes.
You're healthy, you're fit. I know we talk God and spirituality a lot, putting a faith out there.
Yes.
Not religion, a faith, spirituality, seeking the best version of yourself first so that you can show your youth in your home.
Yes.
What good looks like.
100%.
Diving into your marriage and not quitting and giving up don't give up, and make it work. Not cheating on your spouse, being a good human being, being an honest and ethical person, and teaching these values to your children so that they grow up to be responsible human beings and adults the same.
Yeah.
And that's where it's at.
100%.
That's
is
where
everything.
It's at. And there's broken homes out there. There's all kinds of them all over. And if you're in a broken home, or you're a father, or I'm going to talk to just the dads, in a broken home situation, you can still be a good human being.
You can
still change. You can still acknowledge, like, hey, listen, we got a co-parent here. I'm not what I once was. Make the peace there, and be a leader. And sometimes being a leader is having to swallow your pride and accept responsibility for what you've done in the past, and owning it and saying, look, I'm going to be better, and then do something about it to be better.
Yes.
Seek the best version of yourself. Listen to podcasts like this. Read books to help yourself.
Yes.
Exercise. Move your body. Like, don't sit and be sedative. Like, learn something. If you need to, like, get into marathon running because that's what excites you to stay healthy and fit, then run fucking marathon.
But find something.
Find a way to move. Do it.
Yeah. Be consistent. Be intense.
Yeah.
Drive forward. And why is this important? Because this tragedy, what I take from it is the example that we push to everybody. No matter how strong we are, no matter how capable we are, no matter how well grounded we are, how balanced we are, everything we exude out is always done in love and kindness, right? Which was the strength that Charlie Kirk really carried, right? His faith was amazing.
And he had a lot of gratitude. I've heard a lot of videos of him talking about how blessed of a life he's had.
Yes.
And I think that's important too, because when we get in the thick of shit, we find ourselves wanting to think, my life is so bad, it's always happening to me and whatever else. We'll wake up with gratitude every day.
Yeah.
And condition your brain.
Yes.
You can do that.
And do it over time. And it's easy to fall into the trap of just what everyone else is. It's easy to be a sheep. It's easy to fall in and go, no, I'm just going to listen to what they say and I'm going to make a decision based on everything. You have no idea. And formulate an opinion based on actual facts. Listen to if you don't believe me, right? If you're listening to this and going, here's another nutbag telling me he's a good guy. Don't listen to me. Take some time and go listen to the man. Just listen to him, right? And I'm going to tell you wholeheartedly, I did not agree with everything that he said. But I respected
I agreed with a lot. But
I agreed with a lot. And in the same breath, I can say there's a lot that I agreed with. Like, I resonated with him on a level. But I resonated because here's my true resonation with Charlie Kirk. He chose a hill he was willing to die on, defend, and protect. Right? And that hill was his ability and his right to express himself in a kind and loving manner. Kind and loving doesn't mean weak. And say it without engaging or taking anyone else's rights away. And this is what we need to learn from this, is the people engaging, and a lot, if you watch his videos, watch the people engaging with him. They couldn't debate it because he would sit there and we would pull up a fact, and he didn't care if you agreed with him.
Yeah, what blew my mind with him is, like, he was so smart. Like, he did everything from knowledge. He didn't write anything down. When he went into these debates, he never wrote anything down. He would literally cite scripture or books or places or studies verbatim.
Yes.
He was just a brilliant / beautiful mind, like the movie.
100%.
He was amazing, and like, I think that's why it hit so hard, right? Because it was hard not to like that guy.
Yeah,
it truly was.
Yeah.
So the idea that somebody hated him, it's hard. It's almost incomprehensible. And I think that's another reason why we're struggling with it, because 100%. It's like, for those of us who did like and love him, we went. And I didn't even listen to his podcast. I wasn't even subscribed to his podcast. I just would catch the clips on the internet. I followed him on Instagram. I'd see him on the news or whatever things that would come out. So I always liked him, but it's not like I was sitting here like drinking his Kool-Aid every day. I
wasn't a Charlie. I appreciated the person. I wasn't a Charlie Kirk fan. I knew he existed. I really resonated with the fact
loved what he did for our youth,
and I love the fact that he went out and he spoke his truth. That's
absolutely
what I loved.
I was always entertained by the clips that I would see, or I mean, honestly, like, there was some pretty extreme people that would show up to the microphone and doing some eerily creepy things.
Yeah,
and he handled them well, and he would like take it in stride, and like. I think that's ultimately why we're all, people that loved him were just like, I didn't even realize I loved the guy until this happened.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I didn't realize like
how much I actually enjoyed him.
Right, and what he stood for.
Yes,
I think
that's the real thing.
It's that what he represented and what he stood for, and that we felt as if there was a shift happening in our country,
yes.
and we felt this positive stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I go back to what's important and how we move forward now is like, well, let's all strive to be a little bit more like Charlie.
Yeah,
let's all strive to be a little bit more like him, and be capable. And be vigilant. I think that's important. Being vigilant is something we've talked about in the military often because there's threats all around you.
Always.
There's always threats, right? And so like we charged our group the other day, you know, that girl that was in the train station, you know, with a knife attack. Yeah. You shared a pretty impactful story with me about a knife attack. Like they're very deadly, very fast. You can't really defend your way out of it. You could be the most skilled fighter and lose to a knife fight.
Yes.
If you don't have any kind of weapon to protect yourself, right? So my whole point is like being vigilant allows you to prevent.
Yes.
Right. So being capable and vigilant allows you to prevent and don't put yourself in these situations that cause you, you know, the ultimate worst, right?
And the ultimate coming down to it is that situation is a degradation of our society, which is allowing very bad people to walk freely when they shouldn't.
Absolutely. Which hopefully gets resolved here over the next, you know, couple of years. But like, you know, it goes back to this, like, if we all do our part as a society, if we all do our part to be better men and lead our families, you know, we have a greater opportunity of good happening. Yeah. Evil will always exist. Evil will always be around. Like, no matter how you want to see this, like, who was I listening to? Who was that said, oh, it was the podcast on Sean Ryan, the guy that did a religious thing, the religion business or something. I think it was called the religion business. I think was the name of the company. But anyway, he was basically going into like dismantling what the church is all about, religion, what it's all about. And one of the stories he tells is he met a cartel member, you know, MS-13 gang member, I want to say. And the guy told him that you're 10 bad decisions away from murdering someone. Yeah. And that was kind of interesting to me, right? And the whole point is like think about like my youth and my childhood growing up, and the people. I'm sure you can tell the same story. The people that made poor decisions and wound up in a life of crime and whatever you know bad things that came to them. And so I talk to my kids already about consequences. Yes. So a lot of people like to talk about mistakes and decisions and good decisions versus bad. I like to talk consequences. Yes. Because ultimately every decision we make has a consequence. Yeah. What is it, right? Yeah. Let's use a simple one. If I decide to have sex with my girlfriend at 15, 16, 17 years old, and I don't wear protection, there's a consequence to that action.
She may get pregnant.
She gets pregnant. Now I have to take care of a child. Yes. I have to pay for that child for the rest of my life or for the next 18 years at minimum. And then there's a potential bad relationship that occurs, a divorce that could happen, or if I marry her or don't marry her. So the point is, like, every choice and decision that we make in life has a consequence. Yeah. There's an outcome to that. Yes. So if I make poor decisions or don't think through what I'm choosing to do, or in my case, let's say as a man and a father and a husband in my home, and you can say the same of your home, as the man of your home, we decide to be dirtbags and not be good people seeking our best versions, well, my family pays for that. Yes. I lived that for a little while where I wasn't my best
fellow. Pays for it, and it's not their it's not their burden to bear.
It's not their cross to bear.
It's not. It's not. Absolutely not.
100%. It's up to me to be a good human being, right? Yes. No one, and I hate this expression to some degree, but I actually really like it. So I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. But no one's coming to save you, so do something about it.
100%.
Take care of yourself. Like, man, like we've talked about this, like. There's that, and I know there's more context to the picture, but the guy in Houston that was following the firefighter carrying his wife out, I don't ever want to be that guy. Like, I'm going to be the guy that carries my family. Yeah. You know, and in the end, you know, you don't just all of a sudden decide that, like you don't snap your fingers and you're that guy. Like, it takes work. Yes. You have to work. Yes. You have to put, like, sacrifice in. You have to discipline. You know, you have to make choices that say, you know, I don't want to be a fat fuck, so I'm not going to put cheeseburgers in my mouth every fucking night. I'm not going to order pizza every fucking night.
Every choice you make has a consequence.
Right.
Every choice.
Like, I'm going to go train at the gym. Like, it's not going to change overnight. So if like it's momentum that occurs after repeating, and making good choices to say, I'm not going to be a shitbag.
Yeah. And again, with if you're celebrating in this particular context, if you're celebrating someone who was expressing his freedoms in a country where he's allowed to, if you're celebrating the fact that this person died, right, because you simply did not like what he had to say or how he had to say it, right, you could have just also not listened to it.
Yeah,
you could have had the choice to block it out, but the problem is your ultimate choice now you're celebrating the fact that this person is dead.
Well, there's a lot of athletes that have opinions out there that I don't like to hear what they have to say, so I don't listen to their opinions.
100%.
Honestly, they may entertain me in their sports, and musicians are this, or actors are this.
Everyone.
Like, there's actors out there, I watch their movies. They're unbelievable actors. You entertain me, but I don't have an interest in what you have to say about anything in the world because you don't live a normal life like me. Like, you don't...
Yeah.
Your opinion really doesn't mean much to me, but I'm not going to go hate on you.
Yeah.
I'm also not going to tell anybody that they should listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
But
it's a strange world we're living in, I think. You know, and again, this comes down to is you have to bring yourself down into not getting sucked into the negative cycles. Not getting listen, you're not going to change the world by hating on someone online. You're not going to change the world by screaming at someone that you disagree with or did something you don't like. You're going to change the world in your moment, in your area, where you are, day to day with your family. I think Jordan Peterson says it in the best way. You know, you don't change your outcome by doing the big things. You know, you're not going to make your life better by going on vacation. You're going to make your life better by making your day-to-day better, the things you do every single day.
You're right. And, you know, it's like fitness. I know we tie everything to that. Like, I want to be fit and in shape. Well, in a month, it ain't going to happen.
No.
2 months, 3 months, you'll get some progress.
Well,
but to truly achieve...
And you may not. This is the trick, right, is you may not. You know, everyone is different, right? But does that little step you took today and then tomorrow and then consistently, does it eventually count? Yes. I cannot explain to you how small progress done consistently racks up.
Well, I haven't shared this with you yet because I literally started it yesterday and I've listened to it 3 times now. I think it's Jim Rome. The caption on YouTube says it's Denzel Washington, but it sounds like Jim Rome, and he even refers at some point Jim. But it talks about 7 daily habits, right? And one of the things that, you know, it's talking about, one of the things is basically, you know, pursuing a better version of yourself each day. But at the end of each day, and I've heard people say do this once a week. He suggested doing it daily, which I'm going to do. I like this, where basically review, reflect, plan for 10 minutes every day at the end of your day. So what went well? What didn't go well? What do I need to fix for tomorrow?
Yes.
And doing that daily, right? And we talk about the daily habits. That's something we do talk a lot about. So I'm going to actually adjust my daily habits to this because I've been listening to it a few times. I want to get some more notes on it. I'm going to share you with a video with you at least, and then, you know, maybe later we'll share more about it. But it's literally not about being great. It's about just being the best version of you. It's you versus you always.
Yeah, always.
You know, we talk about this in the gym a lot. Where I'm on your heels with strength, but you're stronger than me. But I don't care about this. I don't care. I care about the fact, like this morning on shoulders, I hit a PR today on my shoulders, right? Because it mattered. Like, it matters to me and me only because it's better than what I was last week.
Yeah, and you'll use me to drive you. That's
of
great.
Course.
But what I do has got nothing to do with what you do.
No,
it's just a driver point. You are focused on your results.
100%. It doesn't matter, and you look at me the same way. Like, it's not a competition between us. It's a competition with me.
Yeah.
And I'm feeding off your energy. I'm feeding off what you're doing. And I'm doing the
same. I'm feeding off your intensity. I'm feeding off your drive, your will.
Yeah.
It makes me drive harder. That's the important
And that's
part.
what's fun about it, right? So then going back to like how you can make a difference is like get yourself in a friend like that. Get in a group of guys that are like that.
Yes.
Push each other. Drive each other. What are you struggling with? How do we fix that?
Yes.
We did it yesterday. One of the guys was having some parental issues. Well, let's break that down.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. We have multiple dudes giving him some good suggestions.
Yeah, and again, it's not that all those suggestions are going to solve his problem, but it's information that may help him come up with a solution or at least a plan to implement, right? It's the old saying is a bad plan is better than no plan.
Well, think about something, man. This is what kills me sometimes with people that don't want to take input from others. Like, if somebody else has traveled that road and they know where the road's rough and how to get over the bumps, wouldn't you want to get some input on that? You're still going to hit the bumps.
Yeah.
But they can at least tell you, go to the left or go to the right.
And you may not use everything they said. You may not use anything that they said, but they're still giving you some insight and data.
Yeah.
And that's all it's about.
It's not being so prideful that you can't learn from others. And back to the whole Charlie Kirk thing, it's not being so prideful that just because you completely have a different perspective than me,
that you can't learn from,
that I can't learn from you.
Yeah, listen, I don't resonate with Bill Maher on many things, but I listen to him because you know what, he speaks really well.
I actually give that guy credit, man.
I give him a lot of credit because he stands his ground.
He does, but he's also...
He sticks to his moral ground. He doesn't shift.
And he doesn't shift. And he actually calls out his own party, if you will, where they've kind of gone astray.
Well, he calls himself out. If he said something and it's wrong, he'll gauge off. And there's people on the left and on the right, and it's not your opinion. I don't know, like if you have a differing opinion on abortion, right? That's a super complex issue that is not easily solvable.
Agreed.
It should have multiple discussions, but it's not a black or white issue. No. It's a very gray issue, right? Guns are exactly the same thing, right? For someone on the extreme left, speaking to someone who comes from a country where you can't own a gun, but you can get killed by one, I can tell you, not having the right to own a gun is a massive problem for me.
Yeah.
Right. I also understand nuances in the regard that guns do. If you have a gun, there is violence attached to it, but there's violence attached to a car. There's violence attached to a knife.
If no gun ever existed, there would still find ways to kill.
There'd still be murder, right? Yeah. And I fully 100% understand the mindset that says, well, we know if we regulate and we take away, we take away the problem. You don't. Well,
you don't, though.
And here's the thing is, I'm not even saying that they say take away problem. Maybe we lower the problem, and there is merit in it. I'm not even going to tell you that there's not. Yes, you could lower certain issues, but I promise you, lowering certain issues raise up a whole bunch of other issues that you're not going to solve. You have to look at this in context. The right to defend, and I'm not even talking about the right to defend I'm not talking about the right to defend myself. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about the right to defend my family. I'm talking about the right to defend myself against a corrupt government.
That's right.
Is the ultimate reason why it exists.
Well, and ultimately, criminals will always be criminals.
Yes.
So when you remove the law-abiding citizen's ability to defend themselves, they're not a victim.
Yeah.
They're an easy target.
And if you have the opposing view, I have no problem with that. Let's have a discussion, because I don't even want to. And here's the thing: is I don't want to change your mind. I can't. I'm not here to change. You can change your mind. That's your job.
I'll tell a story. I experienced this where I try to be careful. I don't know that we have I just don't want to reveal people, but like. We were at a place that there were liberals who were against guns, and there was something that caused them to think that there was a bad situation about to go down. I happen to be the only conservative male big dude in the room.
So you're the first guy they ran to.
And they go, "Oh, Kevin's here. We'll be fine."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What fucking makes you think I'm going to protect you?" Right? I'm going to take care of my wife and get us out, but this is a long time ago when that happened. But my whole point is, they're for an issue until it directly impacts them. Yeah. And that's kind of what I struggle with. It's like, again, like, if you don't own a gun and you don't want guns, that's fine. Like, you don't need to. Respect them.
Yeah.
Okay? They're not something to be afraid of. Know how to use them. It's important.
Yes.
In the end, bad people exist in this world that want to kill you. It is what it is.
Yeah.
They're just reality.
You're not going to change that.
You're never going to change that. So when you basically say we need to ban guns and remove them, well, now what you did was you just armed the criminal.
Yeah.
The evil. Like, you just gave them the ability to basically do it well. And who knows? Like, that evil could be a form of a country invading us.
Listen,
then what?
It's in the bigger scheme of things. Do I want to take away no right that the minute you give up your sovereignty, the minute you give up your liberty as an individual and the rights that you have, If you give them, you're never getting them back.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right. And
that's absolutely fact.
I'm the first person to say to you is, if you could show me a world where nobody, and I'm being very specific, nobody has a gun. Not a cop, not a criminal, not the government, not a soldier. No one has a gun. I'm happy. Great. No one has a gun. But the immediate time that someone else has the ability to have something that can hurt me or my family or my sovereignty or my liberty, and I then don't have the right to have it, but they can, we have a problem.
I mean, back in the day with, when they didn't have guns, they still had, spears and,
it'll be replaced with
projectiles of some kind. They'll find ways to inflict damage, My final thoughts, man, like, it's like we our whole mission here is like just helping men be better men.
Yes.
Right? And taking action to do that. Don't be fucking lazy.
Yeah.
Like it's just like in my eyes, it just boils down to it. And I struggle with having tolerance for laziness, and it's because I lived it for a period of time. Yeah. I wasn't lazy to the full extent of it. It's just I knew that I could be better, and so now like I've prioritized myself way better. Right, I've got way better priorities, and that's what I would argue that most of the men out there that are struggling to be fit, healthy, and the best versions of themselves just have your priorities out of whack.
Fit your priorities, but also it's and this is not a physical thing, right? It's not just, hey, get your ass off the couch and go train. That's just one aspect. Get your ass off the couch and go prepare good food so you can feel better.
Right.
It's also research, discern, find out, be curious, look, check. Even if you have to look at something you may not agree with, maybe you should just go check. I listen to all sides at all times, because regardless of who I'm listening to, is I want to be 100% sure that do I agree with you because someone told me not to, because someone gave me a headline, because someone gave me a sliver, or do I not agree with you because I listened to you and I went, you know what, that doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah, formulate your own opinions. Like dive into a person that triggers you. Dive into a different. Yeah, I love the suggestion there, because in the end, that's where I think a lot of us have gone wrong. Yeah. And these phones, as great as they are, you can fill your feed with nothing but your opinion.
Yeah.
So maybe see what the other one has to say.
Go have a look. Be curious. Research. Check. And as Kevin says, is be better men. Be better people. Do everything you do is, I'll finish off mine is, I'm going to live my life, right, in love and kindness to everybody else, while protecting my moral stance, my belief systems, and who I am, and never ever wavering off that hill.
One final thought, as my final thought, I know we have females that listen to us too, and if there's someone in your life that you want to make changes, no, you can't want the change for them, right? You want them to do it all you want, but they have to ultimately recognize, that they have to do the change. Yes. They have to be the one to want to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe we do a whole podcast episode about this, but you just have to keep sharing and shining lights.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll come to realization.
Give them as much information as possible.
And do it in love and kindness.
Always, and allow them to make their own decisions. If it's someone you love dearly, they will eventually get there, but you cannot force it.
You can't. It may not be in the time that you like, but you just got to keep shining your light and, offering love and kindness.
Love that.
And it'll come. So
that's perfect. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for listening.